Yevheniia, welcome. How are you?
Doing great. How about you?
Very good, very good. I was. It was really interesting to start learning about Hacken. It's not a name I was familiar with before, and just by the fact that we connected through Martin, it's. I mean, you guys have collaborated with a lot of great names in the industry, so I was really looking forward to this conversation. Can you talk a bit about Hacken and about yourself and your role in there for people that don't know
Sure,
you?
sure. My name is Yevheniia. I'm a co-founder of Hacken. We started 4 years ago in cybersecurity of crypto. My personal background is in cybersecurity as well. I have a master degree in cybersecurity and done a lot of security activities before. So yes, what we do blockchain security. We help Web3 zero, like Web3 companies to protect themselves by looking for vulnerabilities and doing audits. So it helps companies to discover these vulnerabilities before bad guys exploit them.
All right, and I mean, just a quick rundown of names you've collaborated with. We have CoinGecko here, we have Gate.io, we have VChain, we have FTX, and is BitHub as well. Is are those all firms you have audited, or is there other kind of work that you do? Because you do quite a lot. You do blockchain protocol audits, Ethereum contract audits. Well, contract audits for most big platforms.
Yes, so what we do like different security engagements. It includes like blockchain protocol audits, smart contract audits, penetration testing, and bug bounties. And for 4 years, we've done more than 500 different projects, and like including all the mentioned services. The definitely the customer base is quite huge and with like big names, and we've cooperated with more than 50 different crypto exchanges, quite a few blockchain protocols, and hundreds of DeFi projects.
And when it comes to, I mean, I happen to collaborate with a couple DeFi projects and just on writing, or have collaborated in the past. And I always say, like, people don't realize how much work goes into auditing, right, and into testing. It does seem like such a minor thing, but once
And
you
it's not.
see no, it's really not. And once you see a hack occurring, like the ones that we've seen, well, recently with Cream, y- you yeah, you get a feeling that every small vulnerability can be exploited in some way, shape, or form, right? So, would you like to detail the process, yeah, for those that would like to learn more and are not too familiar with how it looks like internally?
Yeah, definitely. Like for traditional businesses, security is already like top three business risk, and security is something that you should start thinking before something happened, not after you was hacked and you need to recover it
Yeah.
somehow and do something good. But in fact, a lot of companies just go this way after the incident. And crypto, it's getting more and more like popular to have security because owners really see the business risk and they try to minimize that. And it's really good because when we started back in 2017, it was like, I know, like really few companies who cared about security. And now it's like mandatory, like for crypto exchanges from different VCs, from launchpads, and like from a lot of different kind of aggregators. So it's kind of regulation now to have at least security audit, and it's pretty cool because in this way, industry is pushing the conscious of this like projects to start thinking about security prior to incidents, and that's pretty good. So if we're speaking about smart contract audits, it's definitely like a good exercise for everyone because it's not only about like looking for like technical vulnerabilities, it's about looking to business logic and finding the like vulnerabilities in the like architecture of these smart contracts and the idea behind it. It's the most valuable part here, I would say. So how that usually works, that during audit, auditors check source code, documentation, like functional requirements, white papers, and tests how good what is covered with tests. And as for white paper, what we see, there are a lot of cases when projects say that in white paper they have one functionality, one amount of tokens or whatever, but in fact in contracts we see something else, and it's not really good. That's what we also check. How that works in terms of audits, once we receive the full information from the customer, and here's a trick that there are like so many projects that just don't have documentation at all, and
Hmm.
how that was developed no one knows. What was the requirements and what was the intention behind the project, you never know, because how that works, that there is like a founder who has some idea, and they some developers somewhere else, and sometimes it's not the same the founder like created. It's not realized properly on the code. So every time it's communication and different levels, and it's really good when projects are ready for the audit, they have proper documentation, proper understanding what they do. And based on this, you can go with the audit and like check the technical part, like business logic and a lot of other stuff in the contract. Because
Are
in,
there?
yep,
I mean,
sure.
sorry to stop you there. Are there any red flags where when you see a project come by and you see, "Ooh, this is one is gonna be tough."
So we don't work with everyone. We have like internal process of filtering the projects we would work with.
Hmm.
Uh, So we don't work with anonymous teams, for example. We don't work with some industries, like some specific projects. So we have filter because every time it's about reputation. Because auditors are perceived like the someone who say you either invest or no. But in fact, it's not true because auditors check the security part of the project, and every investor should check the project itself because it's about like market fit, product, team, and a lot of other things, and security is just a part of it, but it's not like a recommendation to invest. But a lot of users just invest if they see security audit. Unfortunately, that's kind of the situation now in the market, but we're trying to move it to some better understanding of what's going on.
And I caught you in the middle of a sentence there. So, is there anything you'd like to finish in there?
Yeah, so the audits, during the audits, our like engineers team are looking deep into the code and documentation, communicating with technical team on the customer side, and as a result, they provide the report of their review of the contracts and vulnerabilities they found, and like recommendations what to do with them. After they like developer team on the customer side receive that, they fix the vulnerabilities, we recheck that, and only after that we provide them with a final report, which could be like published in the communities, which could be integrated to CoinGecko and CoinMarketCap. It could be like uploaded to our website and other like activities, to prove that the audit was done.
Hmm. And you're very much right. I love this point that people tend to see an auditing like a recommendation investment, like an investment recommendation. And if you go to if you're looking at, let's say, a DeFi project, because those are the ones that tend to get hacked the most, right? Basically, because they are the ones holding more money in the contracts. Um, and you go to their website and you see the auditing firm often in like the
Like,
bottom
phew,
left or something.
yeah, I
Yeah.
can to invest.
And then you click it and then you see they have audited other big firms. Then it's like, okay, then here comes my money. Let's get that 1000% APY.
You know what? We also spoke to some venture funds, and what they say, because we also ask, we work with a lot of venture funds to be a part of their due diligence in terms of security. And some like smaller venture funds, when you ask them about due diligence, they say, "Oh, we rely on our like partners, like huger venture funds, and they just don't do due diligence themselves. They just rely on someone who already invested in this project and done this due
Yeah.
diligence."
Well, I mean, I can speak about due diligence because we're basically a due diligence
Yeah,
firm.
yeah,
And and you're very much right. Like that's what's ideal for for venture capital to find someone else that does their due diligence. Because I mean, especially nowadays, these are firms that used to be, well, used to be used to doing due diligence on for-profit businesses, and they haven't really figured out blockchain in general. And the industry is a bit complex, and some of them are taking advantage, and I would say getting very, very rich by accessing deals that might not seem like good deals, such as like investing in DAOs, which is like a whole conversation. But uh, I was really interested in the filtering process, because you mentioned that you don't work with anonymous teams, and I can obviously see why. Like they can change a founder from one day to the other, and you would never know. It's still gonna be Duck for 26-9, whatever. But what do you think we'll ever get to the point? Well, I personally think we'll get to the point where most teams are gonna be anonymous. So, do you think not anonymous teams are gonna have an advantage over anonymous teams, or the other way around?
What I see and hear on the market, that a lot of like VCs, for example, they don't work with anonymous teams,
Mm,
or at least they do some KYC process and understand who is behind. And definitely, you are right that one day they can just, like change a founder or whatever, but at least you have something like some connection to some real person, to some real identity, that you can work in the legal entity in case, like in legal field, in case something happened. So
okay,
at
and
least better than nothing. I'm pretty sure it's like, this process is still pretty unmature, I would say. And definitely, I feel that crypto is going to the maturity phase. And
mhm.
in future, there would be, I guess, more preference over like public teams, honestly.
Yeah,
We,
I can see why.
yeah, because yeah, we all work with people and we rely on the like team expertise, team background, and a lot of the things. I don't know how
I was
long it
going
will
to ask you.
be on market.
I feel like yeah, it's impossible not to cut over people on Zoom or on these platforms. But we what else is in the screening process? What else are you looking at when you're screening who do you work with?
So we check it over like some set of databases. It's done via KYC providers, and we also have some like red flags in terms of the project sense, I would say, project idea behind.
Hmm.
And from the first point, you can see it's not really a legit project, I would say, because we
What are those red flags?
yeah, because it was like some adult projects, I would say, something with like gambling and all this related stuff.
Well, yeah, interesting, and again, I can see why there is there is a surge, I would say, in gambling projects nowadays, isn't it? And I'm starting to see more and more of those. Are there any particular kind that you're that you're constantly rejecting?
I won't say so. Honestly, I don't know how this project process works, like exactly right now in details.
Uh-huh.
But our team is filtering that,
All right, cool.
and
um
definitely stuff like you do is really important to the industry, because what we see, this kind of due diligence, pre-verification, pre-validation, is really important for a lot of companies, and there is like so few people in this that this report is something that everyone, every venture, every launchpad are like looking for, and it's really important.
I do think so, and especially when you have let's say a number, a final number. I often tell people not to judge a project based on their final rating or on one of our
You mean like some
reports.
kind of score?
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. There's always a final score, and there's a score per category. So you can see that a project maybe does very well on product market fit and on team, but on their jurisdiction and their legal compliance, tokenomics, whatever, they're not doing too well. And of course, there are things that can be fixed easier than others, right? Just like we were saying, some things you might just pass on based on the fact that they're not ideal for your profile. Like in your case, your company doesn't want to work with certain type of clients. And I would say the same goes for investor. I, for example, do not feel comfortable working with, I mean, investing in just about any project that seems like I might make a profit based on just an ideological level. Like I wouldn't put money on centralized projects, meme coins, just because I think those are bad practices. But anyways, I digress. I was really interested in asking you about what you think about third party development, because I feel like ideally every team should develop their own projects and write their white papers. That's a bit of a dig at some people that have messaged me lately. But but yeah, what's your take on that?
Oh yeah, that's a huge problem in the industry as well, developers. And there is so many ideas and so few good developers. Good developers that you can hire in-house and good dev companies and the availability of these good companies. So every time it's a huge challenge for a founder to find proper development. And definitely at the beginning, a lot of projects just go with like third-party development in terms of different dev agencies. And I've seen really few companies which do, proper selection of these dev companies because mostly it's about price and it's not about quality. And when we see this development when they come to us for audit, so it was cheaper for the customer to invest in good developers rather than do like six audits because their developers not really good at all and their code quality is really poor and you need basically to like rewrite all the contracts because it's not going to work in terms of security at all. And yeah, we had quite a few such cases and it was really pain for the customers. And but it's a reality. There is so we work with a lot of dev agencies, especially in Ukraine. We have pretty cool blockchain ecosystem with a lot of specialists,
Hmm.
and all of them like are booked for a long time, and they do a couple of projects simultaneously, and it's not what's going like to the direction of good quality development. But more mature projects, they hire developers in-house and they pay them a lot. And another problem that we recently discussed in Lisbon with some like engineers that in blockchain and cryptosphere it's very difficult to find like good engineer and is with relevant knowledge, and the problem is that the prices on this market is like insane. You can pay like 10x for crypto just because they know like crypto for half a year. You can pay 10x for the developer, but in fact, it's not worth it because if you hire a good engineer from like another sphere, it would um, takes them not that much time to understand what's going on this smart contracts because it's not rocket science, honestly, for good engineers. And they are not so, they don't know what is crypto and what this crypto like prices because yeah, like really, if you have just 1 month of experience in crypto, you can just multiply your salary, I don't know, like so much. That's a problem for us as well because we are hiring now actively and we speak to a lot of candidates, and that's a market where you need to educate people a lot if you want quality engineers.
And crypto is also one of these areas that you don't know how much you don't know after you're like several years in. So I have this friend of mine. He quit his job to work in crypto. He's probably listening to this right now. He quit his job to work in crypto, but he didn't know much about crypto before. And nowadays, this is a developer, right? And 1 month in, this guy starts talking about why this project sucks, why this project sucks, why this project sucks. And I'm like, dude, you're 1 month in. You don't even know what you do not know. And I see a lot of people like that. And before that, that used to be people investing in Dogecoin, but now that's people developing contracts.
Oh, yeah, that's another problem. I have so many to say on that because it's like really my hot topic that I'm working on now.
This is your
I
place to
guess
talk about this.
yeah. So I mean, from one hand, it's really good that it's kind of mass adoption. Like new people are coming, they're trying to understand what's going on in crypto. Recently, when I was flying from Lisbon from Solana event, the taxi driver was checking the rates on Binance every 2 minutes. Like, come on, what's going on? And he just saw that he's like some part of his salary he invests in crypto, in meme coins as well as for Doge. He
No.
asked me a lot what the predictions on that. Should I invest there more and all this stuff? So we see that more and more that a lot of people invest in crypto and trying to understand what's going on there. But definitely there should be, some quality assurance of the knowledge while you're like hiring people and how they would work. Because developers, that's a huge problem, as well as auditors.
And I mean, yeah, going a bit back to third party developed projects, I do feel like people tend to do that, right? They hire cheap development teams and then they rely on the auditor to fix everything. And then there are things that need to be redeveloped, man. It's just a waste of money. And that's in the case, that's in the better case that eventually you figure out everything you did sucks. Because if you don't, then people lose millions of dollars.
Yeah, that's true. We have so many such cases with these new projects and this poor development when it's cheaper and faster to like start from the scratch, not just trying to fix this code because it's so bad. It works, but it's not something that you would scale and grow.
They I mean, yeah, you said this is your hot topic at the moment, so is there anything you'd like to add in that regard? I know there is.
No, I mean that we are actively hiring, so I'm speaking to a lot of people and trying to find different sources where how it could be done in the quality manner.
Right. And I'm wondering if there are many important difference that the person that's not too technical, such as myself, like wouldn't know about the difference between auditing contracts in one blockchain or the other. Let's say, is it very different if you're auditing contracts on Tron rather than Ethereum or EOS,
Mhm,
etc.?
mhm. So yes, like in most like EVM compatible chains, it's okay. So it's still solidity and not a
Ah,
lot of architecture difference. But when we are talking about Rust-based blockchains like Solana, Near, Polkadot, like Casper, and a lot of others, and like Terra, it's different, and you should go deep into the like how it's built, the framework, the architecture. So it's different skill set and different skill set and different knowledge and different auditors. Mostly now in the market, it's Solidity auditors, and Rust is something that just started recently and it's growing.
I I would like to hear your opinion, since you're actually looking at the nuts and bolts here. What's your take on chains like Solana that seem a bit centralized every now and then?
That's a good question. Um, let's see how it goes in the future. Um, there is like they are developing quite fast and developing the ecosystem. Their plans are really ambitious. Let's see what's going to be next with them.
Yeah, because the rate of growth that they have, it is impressive, but then
It
they have to
is.
put the chain to a full stop, and you don't know if this is a bug of it being very early or whether this is gonna be like this forever, right?
Let's see. But there's so many demand on the Solana Breakpoint event in Lisbon. When was it? Yeah, in November. That was craziness. The amount of people that were looking for tickets to Solana was insane, and there were like people who were like reselling these tickets 20x because they were
Ah,
like,
really?
yes. And that was really funny. And like anyway, there was more people rather than places in the conference.
That's where you need NFT tickets.
Yeah.
They
But
could have been making a buck from every resale.
anyway, yeah, you have paper badges, and it
Uh,
doesn't matter how you transfer it.
right. Yeah. Then you have to pay the transfer fees, and they turn out more
Yeah,
expensive than the ticket.
yeah, yeah.
And
That's
that's actually a good question. When you're auditing contracts, are you just having to be paying a shit ton of Ethereum fees just because you're running the contract over and over again, or is there or are there tricks to avoid that?
so it depends on like case by case, and it's also mostly tested on test nets on local nets.
Right, right, right. It's
Yeah,
a
because now fees are quite big.
yeah, and you don't see that many projects moving out of Ethereum, right? Which is like this is what every fanboy of other chains, like call them Tesos or whatever, were expecting to see, right? Ethereum fees going through the roof, and then projects starting moving chains. But everyone seems to be confident that Ethereum will eventually be accessible again, and that will happen sooner rather than later. What's your take on all that?
So what we see from our customers in their development that they are like experimenting as well and trying to find, that they are building some modules for like for Solana, for like Terra or for something else, trying to see what's better and hope it would work. But we see that these like new blockchains, they have possibility to to be competitive with Ethereum as well. But there is quite a few chains that were like booming like
Hmm.
during the last years, but now where are them we don't know and what's going on there as well. I know. Do you know what's going on EOS, for example?
I thought yeah, I thought was dead, and I hadn't thought about EOS until I saw it on your website. If I'm honest.
Yeah. So you never know what's going to be in crypto next because everything's so changing so rapidly and projects are opening and closing. Let's see what be
Are
after winter.
people using EOS?
I We haven't received a request from it for use for quite a long time, I guess.
Because I feel like if I had to point to one project that's like the biggest disappointment of the history of crypto, that would be EOS, right?
Oh yeah, but it was really cool start,
Yeah, no,
especially in
it
terms of
was.
security. For us, it was really interesting. I don't know if you're like follow this story of their security programs, but
No, tell
yeah.
me more about this.
So as we operate actually on bug bounty side,
Hmm.
that means about like leveraging bugs from external researchers, hackers, and they paid quite a lot of money for simple vulnerabilities just because they haven't properly managed the program and set it up firstly like properly. That's why they paid a lot of money for really not good vulnerabilities. But yeah, it was interesting and it was good for hackers who submitted these vulnerabilities. But then they just fixed it and it was just regular process. But I don't know if they're still active on like bug bounty and at all.
Speaking about hackers, I'm very interested by seeing that we're getting our first hacker celebrities these days. Um, I see this guy. What's his name? Samsung.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, he just became a bit of a celebrity because of the well, very good work that he's been doing. Um, I don't know if this is like I know he's been featured in podcasts. I've never listened to it, so it could be a woman. Is it a guy?
I think he's a guy.
Yeah, I think so as well. And by probability, we might be right, right? By statistics. Um, but yeah, you see him becoming a bit of a celebrity, and it's funny. Then you have other hackers, like the one who which platform was this on? I'm blanking on it. The guy who seems like he got scared and he returned all the money.
Oh, I don't remember. I understand what they're talking about, but I don't remember. Actually, this guy from EOS, when he submitted all these vulnerabilities at that time, he was like kind of celebrity as well because everyone wanted to take interview from him because it's like quite huge vulnerabilities on EOS, and like everyone, oh come on, who is it?
Uh,
That
yeah, this one. I mean, none of us remembers which project was it on. I was in
probably,
Polylastic. Yeah,
yeah,
he
could
was in
be.
Polylastic, and then he got cold feet and yeah, acted like he was doing it on good intentions the whole time and returned the money and all this. But it does put some pressure on the project, on the firm that originally audited this project, because if some random from the internet can figure out the exploits, then your firm doesn't look very good. Do you are there any things that you check on for in contracts or in projects in general to that are where projects are more likely to be attacked, or where people are more likely to make mistakes coding?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question because the common misconception, yes, that if you audited the contract, it's like 100% secure. Of course, everyone is trying for that, but in
Hmm.
fact, we're all human, and the project owners should do everything to minimize risks by themselves. What that means? It means like building security mindset inside, building security into your development life cycle and architecture part firstly,
Hmm.
then doing like internal audit, couple of external audits, then launching a bug bounty, and then doing like insurance. That's all activities to minimize the security risk. So you can't rely just on the one single audit because it's like a complex of methods that help you to do that. And of course, when you do audits, you can like miss some bug. It's like it's normal process. You can't find everything. Uh, for security and for bug hunters especially, every time they're looking for vulnerabilities and can't find them anything, it could be by two reasons. First one is like 100% secure, which you never know if it is, or you just not don't have enough skills, and that's also a question. So there is no such thing as like 100% security. 100% security is when your laptop is like without connection to internet somewhere in the safe. So
Right.
so
The
that's the common problem, and like an understanding of what is security and what we audit.
there is a I mean, in my mind, the way I learned
Okay.
about smart contracts, it was with and this was in like years ago. The first example that I ever heard, it was like a soda machine. So the contract is put coin, exit exit soda, get change if necessary, and that's like the simplest kind of contract. So you don't think that contract can have a lot of ways to be exploited. Things the contracts that would get exploited are more complex, right? So
Yes.
what kind of contract is more likely to be exploited?
I would say there is. It's not about of course, sometimes it's about the size of code, the lack of documentation, the lack of understanding of what's going on. Also about the quality of code and about like some custom stuff which a lot of projects somehow build. So they don't use like Open Zeppelin like libraries, for example, or something else which is tested a lot of times. They trying to do something from scratch, And here also about like lack of security in this SDLC, like security software development lifecycle, lack of understanding what they are doing, like poor quality of like developer work, and a lot of factors. So you can even do a lot of mistakes in 300 lines of code. That's easy as well. It's about the like
Right.
developers, like mindset, processes, and a lot of stuff.
And it was very interesting that you mentioned insurance a bit back, because I have a personal preference for insurance projects. I think that's the future of DeFi, really, because that's the one thing from the traditional world that you don't see being executed in crypto that much. And well, shout out to my friend Michael Beck, who's running the Union Finance project. They're doing a great job in trying to put as much of this into the blockchain world. How do you? Yeah, what's your general perspective on crypto insurance?
Yes, definitely. If we are comparing to traditional markets, all this cybersecurity risk insurance is something really important because, like every time, as I mentioned, you're trying to minimize the risk, but still it
Hmm.
exists, and you should be like should have Plan B in case of something happened, and that's what started like centralized exchanges. They have this like funds in case in case of hack like in Binance, and definitely it's not that like much of them. I guess up to 10 has this fund, honestly. So before investing and depositing money to some exchange, you should think twice about their security and if something happened, would they like return this money? But yeah, I see that's like something that industry needs to minimize different risks.
And there are kinds of insurance, right? Like not all crypto insurance projects are built the same way. Like you said, some are basically just projects setting aside some funds to pay back for things should they go wrong.
Yeah. So one of our projects, so like sub projects, is called CR. It's like
Hmm.
rating of crypto exchanges, and their team researched a lot about this insurance at centralized exchanges. And as I mentioned, there's like really few of them who has that. So it's better to check before depositing money there.
What about decentralized insurance?
You mean when it's like provider that did that?
Yeah, so because I reckon sex it's always weird to say sex. The centralized exchanges. We haven't figured that out in this community. The centralized exchanges tend to be better at or tend to have an easier time finding insurance because they can go through like traditional routes, right? Whether if you're like a Uniswap or a decentralized exchange or whatever, you need to think of different ways. So there are decentralized insurance providers
Yeah,
like
yeah,
I said,
quite a few
Union
of them,
Armor, Nexus. I think is the biggest one right now. And
like
would
Insurace
you
as well, and a lot of others.
would you think one is more secure than the other, or is it just like different docs altogether?
I guess they are different. This traditional insurance and crypto insurance, and yeah, totally different, especially for DeFi. Probably for
And
traditional, because now exchanges is like legal financial entities. In that
mhm.
case, traditional insurance might work. But for all DeFi markets, not sure. Probably decentralized insurance is something that better.
And but yeah, speaking about DeFi, I saw that you guys recently signed a partnership with Avatar for for the tr- for DeFi in general. I mean, the news is literally Hacken is partnering with Avatar to increase users of trust in DeFi project. So is before we were talking about how users tend to trust DeFi projects just because they were audited. So, what is your ideal case here? How can you trust? How can you make users trust DeFi projects while still like things being safe and sound?
I didn't get what you mean because Auditors, they are like legal
Hmm.
consultancy, and they do all this traditional stuff like with policies and something for more mature companies, that's like officially registered, public, doing legal business. And there is quite a few of them actually in DeFi as well. But for like anonymous teams and some strange projects, it's not the case. But it's not about trust for this project, I guess.
So, do you think having people trust DeFi more is a matter of bridging as much as possible from the decentralized world into the traditional world?
Good question. In fact, it's not about crypto, yeah, about all the centralized solutions.
Hmm.
But I guess it's kind of different levels of perception of crypto. And for newcomers, the centralized solution is something more reliable that they can start with. And for true crypto people, they use like DeFi, DEXs, and other stuff.
And yeah, that's a good point. Because that's the entry point, like you say. You very like you say your taxi driver.
Yeah, yeah,
he's
for sure.
he's not really using yield farming, right? He's checking his balance on Binance
Yes,
to see if it has
yes.
gone up. Where the where would you say the entry point for DeFi is, or for true crypto, for more decentralized solutions? Probably
Yeah,
Uniswap.
yeah, like Uniswap, Pancake, and other solutions. That's the where you need to install MetaMask and use use it with MetaMask. It's more difficult level. Oh, because the taxi driver also told me that like MetaMask is really difficult to use, and it's like yeah, I won't go with that. I need just Binance, like Coinbase, and all this.
Actually, that's not the first person that I hear say that. I've heard that quite a lot recently, because you know this. You probably have this happen to you all the time. Like every time people hear that you're working in crypto, they want you to teach them how to get rich in 10 minutes or
Of
less.
course,
So
everyone wants that. Like where to invest, how to multiply their money. That's obvious. Everyone heard
that
this like excess that you can get in crypto, but they don't want to invest their time to understand what's going on there.
exactly, and this is why I tell people, like, I give them like the shortest answer that I can do is like, buy set aside a bit of money that you can every month, and buy a bit of Ethereum or Bitcoin, and don't move from that, because you're not gonna understand more about this to get into something more complex in like years. So stay with the basics, and I think
Yeah,
two people have taken me up on that so far. Because
yeah.
yeah,
Actually, that's a good advice. That's also what I hear from others. Just do something stable but regularly, and for sure you would be in a profit.
and you're gonna get more interested, and that's the part people don't get. Like, you're not gonna sit down and learn everything, although we have a guide, a 50-page guide in case you want to sit down and learn a bit of everything. But most people don't do that. Most people just if they start putting a bit of money in Ethereum or on Bitcoin, hopefully they will start getting curious, and they will start reading news, and they will start getting a bit more savvy. But it does take time. And yeah, going back to user experiences, there are, MetaMask is fairly simple for us that haven't been here for long. For some people it's still a bit daunting, like there are like random numbers from contracts, and the transactions part of it, I don't think it looks too friendly. It's
Yeah,
it's a bit weird to press the button that says approve and then send a transaction. Yeah, it, there's a challenge there. But Monica Singer from Consensus, she was telling me that I need to invite Monica back again. She was saying that MetaMask, actually, the beauty of it was that it opened the world of crypto for most developers that were just basically like Web 2.0 developers. And I think you would agree that there is more of that kind of people coming into crypto these days, right?
Yeah, but for like non-tech savvy people,
Hmm.
MetaMask is still not that friendly, I would say. For developers, yeah, that's pretty fine. That definitely there's not nothing pretty difficult there, but it's easier to open Binance, a special light version on mobile phone, and just really simple steps. And yeah, and also what I hear about user experience, because yeah, for last couple of months, a lot of my non crypto friends
Hmm.
try to buy, to trade, and all this stuff. And like all these KYC processes for some exchanges, that's very difficult. I know, so many photos, so many different like references, and so many stuff you should provide. And especially with Asian crypto exchanges, not all time it works perfectly.
You probably also had people like, I just remember, you probably also had people come to you saying that they want to become traders, right? Like people that have done things, have never done anything even related to that.
Yeah, and I honestly did this mistake by myself as well. When you don't understand what's going on there in terms of trading and just trying to go for futures, and every time it's a bad idea.
And this is advice for everyone listening: stay away from leverage. You don't
Yeah,
borrow money to gamble. Like that's a bad idea always.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
uh, Actually, exchanges are a great topic because you guys have done security work in exchanges, audits on exchanges. um, yeah, I would just like to give you an open floor to talk about that, because I reckon that what you can say is more interesting than anything I can ask you.
Okay, so what, you want something to know about something about security of crypto exchanges?
Yeah, if I
That's
may.
a good topic. That's a good topic without names, of course, but
If you
the
want
like
with names, I'm always leaving that option open.
no, indeed.
Okay.
So there is so few exchanges which have different like definitely good tech team
Hmm.
and understanding. It's kind of scary when you find like 50, 60, and more security vulnerabilities on the exchange, which operates with like a lot of money. And like, yeah, every time it's a pain to point out to all this stuff and understand that like hackers just can like withdraw like infinite amount of money because of just technical mistake. But it's good when like exchanges like do internal and external audits and do bug bounties. There was
Hmm.
quite a few exchanges that have bug bounties, because in this way they're saying that like we are transparent and we are open to receive security feedback from external like world, from like researchers, users, and they definitely pay attention to that. For so we operate bug bounty for quite like a lot of crypto exchanges, like for FTX, for example, for Huobi, Gate.io, and a lot of others. And that's pretty good mindset and attitude to security when you like receive this security feedback, fix vulnerabilities, say thanks to hackers, because in the end of the day, it increases your security. And what, for example, like common mistakes that we see on crypto exchanges, it's more about like transactions and trading when there is
Mm.
no enough filtration on the fields, for example, and you can generate like infinite amount of money through your account. There were like some cases where we were able to just generate for like from $100 couple of $1 million and withdraw it, and it was the customer was pretty happy that we found that, not someone like bet.
Right.
So also what like a typical problem with exchanges that they store like a lot of personal information in many cases. Of course, they try to outsource this to like KYC providers. But back in 2017, 18, we found a lot of just IDs open, and it was a huge problem. You can just, everyone can access the ID of user that submitted this QIC. Luckily, now it's better. And yeah, and also what was good that exchanges itself, they're interested in security of users, because every time it's both the responsibility of user and exchange. In most cases, the attacks happens on the user side because they are like they've been phished, or they like done something wrong, and exchanges try to educate these users. They force them to set good passwords, anti-phishing codes, to a face, like some phishing protection, and it's pretty good because at least they are trying to educate users in terms of security and minimize the negative feedback for themselves.
I Yeah, you said 50, 60 vulnerabilities, and
Yes.
that was interesting because how much would you say is a good number of vulnerabilities?
I guess. What do you mean, good number?
Yeah, like you said, okay, because you say that clearly 50, 60 was too many. So how many is
Yeah.
a decent number?
Yeah, good number is zero, of course. The like
One would hope.
the acceptable number like around 10, from which like just no criticals, for example, just
Uh-huh.
some like minor like medium vulnerabilities. That's not that dangerous for user and exchange itself, but some recommendations how to improve it. And the bad situation when you have a lot of vulnerabilities, and then you understand while you do this penetration test, you understand that what's going on the development side, the architecture parts, you never know, because it's too much. It's like no security, no understanding of technology at all.
I would yeah. Does it get suspicious if it's zero?
That's a good question. As I mentioned before, there is such cases when you've done everything, you've checked everything. So we have like internal methodologies we use for exchanges, and when it's good, it's good.
Ah,
And
okay.
you can just launch a bug bounty, ask for external feedback, like another audit to check. But in web and mobile sphere, there is a way more specialists and the deep of this knowledge, so it's not that huge issue, but more issues on smart contract side.
And well, Eugenia, I know you're a busy woman, and I really appreciate you taking the time to have this conversation. It's been a lot of fun. Is there anything as we start closing that you would like to talk about, or that you think we didn't go into?
Usually what's interesting to users probably to think like some tips how to protect themselves,
Oh yeah,
what they can do for the project and for themselves, like
yeah.
personally.
Please give me your best.
So there is no rocket science at all in this. Strong password, password managers to a face, no SMS, and like be really attentive in terms of phishing,
Ah,
because that's where a lot of attacks. We investigated a lot of cases where it was just like spare phishing, and was just like link for the employee. It's opened, and some troubles happened, I would say.
actually,
So
here's a question that has been in my mind forever. Now I found the perfect person to talk to. It's like I'm asking Michael Jordan about basketball. I've heard people having problems with fake tokens sent to their wallets, that when they click on them they do something or something like that, and it basically drains their wallets. Like they get airdropped some suspicious tokens, and next thing they know they don't have anything. How does that work?
I haven't heard such cases. If you have some more details, I can look at it more. But so when you have the wallet and some tokens, so these tokens can't execute something. Um, I can't comment on that because it's hard to see. If you have such information, can you share?
I'm going to, if you want to keep on giving our listeners some recommendations, I'm gonna see if I can find something about this
Yeah, and
quickly.
they recommend. Yeah, can I continue while you're
Please.
looking for?
Yeah, yeah,
Yes,
please,
and
please do.
for projects, as I mentioned, it's better to have like security mindset, like security first mindset when you start implement security at the first stage, when you make architecture secure by design and not do like just audit in the end and that's all. So secure architecture, internal audits, internal code reviews, external code reviews, like external smart contract audits. Better to have multiple companies doing that. Launching bug bounties to attract more researchers, more hackers to look for vulnerabilities. And then, like doing insurance to minimize the risk of being hacked. And proper communication in case of something happens. That's
Well,
basics.
what do you mean by that?
Like if there is like a hack, you should properly communicate that to the community, to investors, to partners, to clients.
Okay, I got you. And yeah, I couldn't find anything about this airdrop problem. I also reckon it's not it must not be a common one because, like you said, like a token cannot do anything on your wallet. It has to be something else. But yeah, I got no clue how this might work. So I'll I'll probably, if I find it, I'll email you and I'll include a little
Okay.
clip in here of me reading out your answer. But I don't think that will
Okay.
happen. And
Okay.
for people looking into wallets themselves, like there are, of course, the ideal is to use a non-custodial wallet if you're going to use any wallet that is not hardware. Hardware is, of course, safer, but if you use a wallet, try for it to at least be non-custodial, so no one is in possession of your coins. You're going to have to pay fees, most likely, to move your coins out of centralized exchanges into non-custodial wallets, but I would say that's something that's worthwhile. Also, you have to make sure that you take care of your seed phrases, and always make sure that there's not one single point of failure for your seed phrases, because if you email them to someone and someone can, and you're in some risk of someone hacking into your email, then you're at risk. Same of you losing a paper.
Yeah.
There are
Emails,
countless stories.
it's a bad idea. Just use password managers. It's easy
Don't
and
password manage aren't password managers more dangerous? Because if you lose,
why?
I mean, if something happens to your password manager, something happens to you in general, to all your accounts.
But yeah, you still need to just remember one password and you can recover it. And it's better to know about one password. But definitely, it's about, as you mentioned, about single point of failure. And every time you should diversify. That's like with audits and with bug bounties and all this stuff. You should diversify risks. It's about security.
But I'm really curious here, because I always understood that you shouldn't use password managers because that's, like we said, one point of failure.
But yes, you can have like backups, have different managers, but it's better to use password managers rather than use the same password everywhere and
Okay, yeah,
be exploited. Because like hackers use this stolen databases, hack databases, and you
right.
can be a victim of that.
It's really scary when you get one of those Google emails saying that your passwords have been compromised or something like that. Like that's like,
Have you?
because
Yeah, go on. Sorry. Yeah, like usually you receive these emails only if you are like subscribed to such service, or it
Mhm.
could be a phishing that like tries you to go somewhere to change your password, but in fact it's like a phishing resource which is just trying to get this password from you.
Yeah, and it never ends. But most attacks, I would say, are designed to catch the 99% more ignorant people, right? Like attacks are often not very sophisticated. They most likely look like an email from Facebook or from your bank or something like that.
Yes, there is different types of phishing, and one of the types, so it's when it's like spear phishing for exact person. We are like within exact company when it's everything is prepared to be for you, and other type when it's just like spam, like mass emailing, when it's like for everyone and there is like percent of people which click and enter the password. So it depends.
Right. And for our crypto users, anything else that you can tell to them in regards of security?
Do your own research and be really attentive on what you're doing. And don't rely only on security audits.
Don't rely only on security audits. Read the course reports if you want a
Yes,
bit of due
for
diligence
sure.
done for you. And
Yeah, do your
well,
own due diligence.
always do your own due diligence, guys. Take things like articles, videos, or reports, whatever, as starting points to understand more and to learn more. But of course, always is better if people do their own diligence. And well, thank you very much for taking the time, Eugenia.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting. I hope it was useful for you and the listeners.
It was very useful. I'm hoping that my questions weren't too bad.
Yeah, it was really interesting actually, to hear some questions from non-security people and try to explain in the simple manner.
Okay. I used to be a marketing manager for a cybersecurity firm.
Oh,
That
really?
didn't last for that didn't last for too long, but I do think that I did my homework at that time. I hope some remained here.
Nice.
But anyways, crypto's very different.
Yeah, it is.
It's a completely different beast. So well, goodbye everyone, and thank you again.
Thank you. Bye bye.